for the greatest benefit of humankind. That's what he was looking for. And surely nothing encapsulates Twitter more than for the greatest benefit of humankind.
You have taken one of the greatest prizes, the most vaunted prize in humanity. It's about intelligence, it's about literature, it's about compassion, it's about all these different fields, and you're going to give it to somebody who can condense their ideas into 280 characters. You are responsible for the dumbing down of society, Mark.
Hello, welcome to episode 2 of the Inane Campaign podcast. I'm Mark Rowe, and once again, myself and my good friend Andy Cleese will be striving to make the world a better place, one inane campaign at a time. Hello, Andy, how are you?
Good, thanks, Mark. It's good to hear from you again. Obviously, we took a week off last week.
We did. We had a little break. Do you want to talk about why that was?
Well, you and I had a bit of back and forth on WhatsApp, and we had a bit of crisis of conscience, didn't we?
It just felt a little bit like it wasn't really right last week to put out a podcast saying, hey, isn't campaigning really silly? Isn't it ridiculous?
A bit tasteless in the week where America went into a near full-blown race war, I would have thought.
Absolutely. So we took a week off. We put our feet up. Did you enjoy your week to yourself?
Absolutely. Got plenty of headspace. Got a bit more time on change.org looking through, the silly campaigns that there were. But obviously, I spent quite a bit of time learning about the situation. And I think as a white male of somewhat heavy privilege, I thought I was duty bound to kind of find out about the situation, because I feel very strongly about what's happening in America, and also the structural racism that's happening here as well. I mean, I don't know what you think about what's going on, but I think Trump's essentially trying to position himself as a racist dictator who's going to rule by military force. And I'm genuinely starting to worry he's going to dissolve, the normal forms of government, the democracy that America holds up so high.
It does all feel quite deliberate, doesn't it? And everything feels very inflammatory. Everything that's being said, it's almost like it's been very deliberately done to cause maximum disruption and maximum unrest and bad feeling, which is incredibly uncomfortable watching it from afar. I mean, obviously over here in the UK, we've got protests as well, and people really saying enough is enough. It's time to come together and stand up for what we believe in, which is great. And obviously for a podcast like this, where we're talking about making a difference and making a change, albeit in a very silly way, we do absolutely respect and have a lot of time for all of those very good campaigns that are out there. And we would fully ask all of our listeners, all 35 of you, to go and check out what else is going on Change. Obviously go and support our campaigns too, but go and check out what else is going on Change, and make sure that you look at those causes. We did put one out on our very limited platform to try and promote one of the good causes that we thought deserved a little bit more attention. I didn't want us to go with justice for George Floyd, not because we don't agree with it, but because it was something that was already getting a lot of traction. It was already getting a lot of people supporting it. So we actually put a campaign from Change to change the texts that are at GCSE English to include Black and minority ethnic writers, so that actually people are educated right from the word go in a different way, and people start to understand these important messages, not just when it hits the news and when everything kind of goes crazy, but right the way through their education. I think that if there is going to be meaningful change, then that is going to be the way to do it.
Absolutely. And, when whatever you think of Michael Gove, whenever he made all his changes in 2010 and he wanted to bring in British literature, he sort of threw the baby out with the bathwater. We need a rich, international, multi-ethnic kind of range of voices teaching our children what it's like to live in the world today. And, it'd be great if you could sign that and kind of push that petition. One thing that I've noticed this week is that I'm signing a lot more petitions now, just from being active on change. I know we're looking at silly things and so on, but I feel like I'm sort of becoming a bit more of an activist in a very small scale way. I know it's a bit of armchair activism, slacktivists or whatever, but, been donating and so on this week. And I feel like it is a bit of a turning point that we're in at the minute, and we really need to build on that.
Absolutely. But these campaigns do work. We know that these campaigns do work and that they do make a difference. Not least because last time that we were sat here talking, you had said one of the fun ones that you had found was to have a llama emoji. And we were contacted the day that we put the podcast out by one of the listeners who said, guess what? It worked.
Save the drama for a llama, Mark.
How little we obviously know about the world of emojis. We hadn't even realised that we were talking about a campaign that had been successful and had won already.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like I've wasted everybody's time now. I can only apologise. There was already that emoji that encapsulates all that kind of depth of feeling, that kind of quirky need to have a South American pack animal in your text to your friends. So apologies for that. Hopefully my Inane Campaigns can be a bit more useful.
Well, you say that. We don't actually know when the llama emoji was launched. Maybe we were just really successful. Maybe we tipped the balance. We turned the tide. We did what we instantly had an impact. That's what I like to think. Yeah, we broke the dam on the llama. So what have you been... You said that you've been spending a bit more time on change. What have you seen? What are the crazy ones you've seen this week? It was get Jackie Forrester off Twitter. And I don't know who Jackie Forrester is basically this kind of troll, and all she does is post trash about the BBC daytime quiz show Eggheads, and then it give you a picture of some of the tweets that she'd been putting out. And while Eggheads come on, she just kind of batters them with these like harsh put downs. Irritating, smug show off. Oh, please do shut up. #Eggheads. At the Jeremy Vine. Answer to the question is in front of you, lazy sod. #Eggheads. Chris always has a face like a bulldog chewing a wasp or a smacked arse. #Eggheads. How pathetically irritating is at the Jeremy Vine's laugh. #Eggheads. So watch out for Jackie Forrester if you're on Twitter, is all I'm saying. Is the campaign really against Jackie Forrester, or is it in support of the Eggheads? Get her off Twitter. I think this person clearly loves the Eggheads and hates to see them dragged through the mud by Jackie Forrester on Twitter every day. Yeah. So there we go. I don't want to give too much away. I'm slightly worried about my campaign for this week, having heard that. But there you go. I'll tell you more about that later. What sort of stuff did you see this week? Right, there was a couple of good ones that I found. This was an interesting one. Legalise hunting of the remaining beetles for sport with no legal consequences. Who's left? Who have you got? Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney? That's it, yeah, they're the only two left, and they've had enough of them. And the petition is to Boris Johnson. I think he's got other things that he needs to be worrying about at the moment. I'm not sure how that will go down. I don't know how the animal rights people will feel. We've banned fox hunting, but legalising the hunting of the beetles. Yeah, I think it might have actually been Heather McCartney who launched that petition. That makes sense. I mean, she's still got an axe to grind about Paul. I mean, Paul does kind of look like an animal, albeit like a slightly lame tortoise nowadays, so he'd be fairly easy to catch. Yeah, that's true. This was a good one as well. I like this one. It wasn't even phrased in terms of a petition. It wasn't really appealing to anybody to make a change. It was more like a statement. It just says, ketchup is a jelly and everyone knows it. I mean, you can't argue with that. It's semi-viscous liquid, isn't it? It's more or less a jelly, they're right. Well, they're saying tomatoes are a fruit, ketchup comes from tomatoes, therefore ketchup is a jelly or a jam. I think they've missed out a few steps there. They've went, tomatoes are fruits,
What was the next bit? Tomatoes are fruit.
Tomatoes are fruit. Ketchup comes from tomatoes. Therefore, ketchup is jelly.
I mean, they've left out vital stages there, haven't they? Tomatoes are fruit. Ketchup is this. Therefore, it's this. Whoa,
No, I
whoa,
like
whoa!
it.
That's not how science works.
I like the logic of it. I think that works. He got some support as well. He got some support from one girl who just said, ketchup is jelly, don't at me. Now, here's my question to you. If you were going to launch that petition, ketchup is jelly, who would you be petitioning?
You got to think it's got to be the CEO of Kraft Heinz.
Yeah, that's what I would go for. I asked my wife, because I found this, I asked her, she went the other way, and she was like Mr. Kipling or, jelly makers, jam makers, that sort of thing, wanting them to adopt the ketchup in, right? Yeah. But I think this is genius. They've petitioned Kevin Bacon.
Why? Because everybody links to Kevin Bacon?
No, because you put ketchup on bacon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. See, his name's just Bacon. He's not Bacon. He's not in charge of the bacon.
No, but I assume as somebody who is closely linked to bacon. Oh, actually, he's not closely linked, is he? This is why it's so ridiculous.
He's just got the same word in his last name as bacon. He's not in charge of the distribution of bacon, the production of bacon. Kevin Bacon literally has nothing to do with bacon. Is this news to you, Mark?
Yeah, and you've put it quite forcefully as well. So I'll move on then. Predictably, that got about 5 people supporting it, I think. Now, this one is close to my heart, and you will know the story behind this a bit, but some of our listeners won't. It says, I want a pony.
Okay, go on.
Now the reason this is so important to me is because there's a long story behind me getting into stand-up comedy and my payment to my wife. What's the word? Compensation to my wife. I'm whoring out my wife for horses now. My payment to my wife for me spending all this time doing comedy was to get her a horse, right? So this person clearly is of a similar mind. It wasn't her who set up the petition. But this is what I mean.
She says that. She's probably got all sorts of online aliases.
Well, no, but listen to this. I'm pretty sure it wasn't her because it doesn't say, I think Mark Rose should buy me a pony. It says, I think John Cleese should get me a pony.
Very specific there. I mean, yeah. I don't know if he's got the sort of money to be spending on ponies, given that he's went through at least 2 very messy divorces.
Well, didn't he do a whole tour that was based on paying for his divorce?
Yeah, Peter Kay did My Mum Wants a Bungalow tour, and John Cleese has done 2 I Need to Pay the Alimony Money tour.
Well, this person's not giving up. They say, I think John Cleese should get me a pony. He became famous making a sketch about a dead parrot, and now he owes the animal kingdom a good deed. It only makes sense. I like ponies. If this is not possible, I'll settle for a helicopter. Helicopters are cool.
Well, that's a bait and switch there, If I can't have a pony, I'll have a helicopter. Again, big leaps in logic.
I'm not sure about the negotiating tactics there either, to be honest. I don't think you really want to start lower down and then aim for something a lot more expensive if you don't get your own way.
Yeah. I mean, that might be straight out of Trump's Art of the Deal. That's the sort of crazy tactic that Trump's going for. Maybe this person's doing the same thing. I can just get what I want because I'm me, But there we go. I came across this, and it was End Zoo Night event at ZSL London Zoo. I put London Zoo is at it again after having to pull the plug on their zoo late due to petitions signed by tens of thousands calling on the zoo to end the parties and an investigation by Westminster Council. The same event has now been rebranded for a 3rd time. Zoo Nights is advertised as mixing wildlife and city life, which allows 5,000 people, all right, alarm bells, to party with loud live music, carnivorous food vendors and alcohol bars in the late hours of the night. Now, I shouldn't laugh, Mark, but listen to this. These events have seen incidents such as beer being poured over a tiger, penguins being punched, people climbing off into the enclosures and attempting to strip off and swim in the penguin pool, a snake enclosure grass cracked, animals being taunted, and butterflies being crushed. I mean, it sounds like something Joe Exotic would dream up in Tiger King.
It really does. This is the problem, isn't it? Because sometimes really genuine, worthy causes, obviously animal rights is an important thing. People don't want to see bad things happening to animals, and I understand that people want to campaign in a good way to stop these things happening. But sometimes the way they phrase it is so ridiculous that it does become funny. I mean, I saw one this week that said, I haven't got the story because I don't know why I wasn't going to talk about this. It's too good, really, to ignore. It said, shut down the theme park that forced a pig to bungee jump.
Pigs might fly.
Pigs might fly, exactly. So, one of the reasons that we were on Change this week then, looking at all this stuff, is because we've also both been running our own campaigns. And we said at the end of the first episode that the aim then was to promote your campaign using social media and thinking about the posts that you put out on social media. What did you do to promote your campaign?
Well, I basically tapped up anyone I could think of that I could leverage. Well, the listeners might not know, but Mark and I are on a WhatsApp group with some other comedian friends, and I even surreptitiously asked two of them to give a thumbs up for my campaign. One of them said he would, and one of them said that he would remain neutral like the Swiss. Mark, I will leave it up to you to figure out who those two people are.
I reckon I can tell you exactly who it was. I reckon Ryan Mould backed you and half said that he wouldn't do it, and Dan and Matt just didn't care.
I'm saying nothing, my friend. You are way off.
Dave Shakespeare might have backed you. No, Dave's a good all-round guy. He would have been fairer than that.
But basically, what I figured out is trying to get people to sign your change.org petition at this level. It's like when you start out as a comedian and sometimes you're forced to do these bringer gigs in London. If you don't know what bringer gigs are where you have to bring a friend. And thus, from all the comedians and all their friends, there should be probably at least 20 people in the audience. When you do bringers, you burn through your friends pretty quickly when they realise how bad your first steps of comedy are. And that's basically what's going to happen if I need to do this week on week. Pretty soon, I'm going to end up with 9 signatures. And that's when I think it'll probably be time to give up.
You're right. I mean, it is much harder than I thought it was going to be to get people to back these campaigns. I realised pretty quickly that I wasn't going to have lots of my friends suddenly jumping on the bandwagon just because I'd posted on Facebook, sign this petition, and then thought, I'll put it on a couple of days so everybody sees it, put it on a couple of days, still very... In fact, I went 2 days at the beginning of this campaign where the only person who had signed my petition was me. For 2 whole days.
I did notice that you made the cardinal error of signing my petition. I don't think I signed your petition. That's how low down I am.
You absolutely didn't. And the only reason I did it was because I was trying to sort out the social media and post a link to your campaign, and I could only do it by signing it. I was livid. And you can't unsign them.
No.
Once you've signed, that's it. You've supported it. So what I'm really saying is, I need listeners to support my campaigns in future, because the limited friends that I have on Facebook are not going to actually back me on any of this. So I thought about that. I got a bit creative, Andy. I started joining, because my campaign was to change violence on TV, to soften the blow of violence on TV, Batman style, by having kapow and thwack and all of that kind of stuff appear on the screen whenever there was any violence. I started joining Batman groups on Facebook, like all the fans of Batman and things like that, and posting about it on there. They could not have been less impressed with the ideas that I had. Mate, there are some seriously kind of enthusiastic Batman fans. The only I got about 3 or 4 likes on these posts that I put up, and then one comment that just went, "Are you serious?"
Good old internet. You know, you can always rely on the internet to slap your kind of self-esteem down by 100%.
Yeah, but then I got, and this is what there was loads of stuff, just loads and loads of pictures and loads of comments about Batman and pictures of people with Adam West and Burt Ward from the good old days of Batman. And then at 2:00 in the morning, I got woken up by my phone, a notification on my phone, because one of these groups was starting a watch party of back-to-back Batman episodes that they were going to watch like right the way through the night. Unbelievable.
Did you watch them?
No, I didn't. That was probably my mistake. The other thing that I did was, because it wasn't working and I was so drastically far behind, is I actually tapped up my good friend Tim McDonald, who also does all the tech stuff for this and helps us out behind the scenes. I got Tim to make me some videos of what it would look like if TV violence had the Batman captions on. So I had John Prescott, you know that clip, that famous clip of John Prescott attacking the protester. So I had that, but with Batman sort of style captions flashing up all over the place.
The weird thing about that clip is he's clearly a southpaw, because he leads with his left hand in such an odd way. Like, any right-hander would come round and absolutely crack the guy full in the face, but he lashes out like that. And it's the oddest punch I've ever seen. And he doesn't seem to get an awful lot of power behind it. But that's obviously the fist he leads with. But I seen those videos and I was like, there's no way Mark can do these videos. These are way too good. And so again, Tim, have you been giving Tim a bit of money on the side for to help your campaign?
No, I didn't. I didn't. Although that's a thought, actually. Throw a bit of money at the campaign, and this is going to get ridiculous before too long.
What I did, I went on Twitter and found the Andrew Milsom Twitter feed, and it is the bleakest thing. It's the bleakest Twitter account I think I've ever seen, and I include my own in that.
So for anybody who didn't listen to it already, who didn't hear the first episode, Andrew Milsom is the estate agent in your village, right?
Yeah, and every week they email me to tell me that they've got nothing to tell me, essentially, about the changes in the housing market. They've got no new properties. They just go, sorry, this email's blank. But, we'll wait until it's not blank. And I'm like, I've had enough of this. But anyway, their Twitter account has only got 48 tweets in total and 7 retweets. Basically, they stopped posting on it in 2013. And I put a link on the Facebook page, on the Twitter page, to my petition. But actually, when I was reading the Twitter feed, because it's from 7 years ago, they've just got a list of houses, and the prices seem very reasonable. Actually,
did it make your heart break a little bit for what's gone on with the bubble?
Yeah, absolutely. But all the houses seem to be making headway. Even though Andrew Milsom has 4 offices, one in Marlow, one in Cookham, one in Bourne End, and of course one in Stokenchurch, although weirdly on their website that's labelled as being in central London. So I don't know who's running Andrew Milsom's web presence, but they need spectacles and they need to log into the Twitter account.
I really, really enjoy how unreasonably angry you get about the running of this business. It's not just their emailing, now it's their social media presence. Everything about them makes you really quite cross.
Basically what I'm doing is I'm angling for a job as Andrew Milsom's marketing officer.
Okay, well that might work. Who knows?
I've got to get something out of this.
Well, I'll tell you what you have got out of it, and I don't think it's going to be too much of a surprise from having listened to the comments that we've been saying and how appallingly my campaign went. But you actually beat me 2-1. You got 20 supporters of your petition, and I only got 10. Congratulations, well done. I think it was a worthy win. he says through gritted teeth.
I've put Andrew Milsom in the consciousness of 20 people, and that's the main thing here. That's the real victory, Mark.
So Andrew, what we're saying is Andrew Milsom is the winner.
Andrew Milsom is the winner, yeah. Just don't go on their Twitter feed.
Let's talk about then what we're going to do next. What did you have ideas for ones that you're not going to run this week? Did you have any that you thought about and pondered and then cast aside?
While I was thinking about it, it's quite hard figuring out what to put into change.org to figure out what might be a good idea and so on. I have invented a new game, which I'm calling Change Whack. And basically what you do is you put a word into change.org and you hope that it doesn't come up. And you'd be amazed at how many weird words do come up on change.org. But here's some of the ones that don't. Baguette doesn't come up. There are no change petitions about baguettes, which I find hard to believe. Castanet, the Spanish.
Yeah.
That doesn't come up. Penny farthing. There is nothing about penny farthings, which I find odd, given that you'd see a hipster riding one in London. Somebody must get annoyed about that. And weirdly, the word comic doesn't come up on change.org, which I find very hard to believe.
That's just another reason why I lost last week then with my Batman stuff.
There's not enough comic people on change.org fighting for your struggle, Mark.
So what did you come up with that you disregarded?
Have you ever heard of Bamboozle?
Yeah. The game on like CFAX. Was it CFAX or Teletext? Yeah. Whatever it is.
Yeah. I wanted to resurrect Bamboozle. So I put Bamboozle in. You remember it? You had the 4 coloured buttons on the fast text tellies.
Yeah, it was basically Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but you won nothing.
Yeah, but if you had a fast text telly in the 80s or 90s, you were basically like royalty in your neighbourhood. But I loved Bamboozle because it was sort of pre-internet time wasting,
Yeah.
But unbelievably, right, get this, Mark, Tuesday the 15th of December, 2009 was the last ever Bamboozle. That means teletext was existing deep into smartphone territory there.
Yeah, it is surprisingly late, isn't it? But I do sort of remember something about them shutting it down because it must have been the move over to digital TVs from analog and all of that, isn't it?
Yeah, it must have been. I thought they'd killed Bamboozle off years before that. But imagine being on teletext in 2009 when you can play Call of Duty with someone from Tajikistan. You're sitting there with your fast text and these people are killing each other in real time over the internet. It's like, what are you doing? Just, do something useful. Right, anyway. So my campaign was going to be to bring back Bamboozle, but internet geeks are way ahead of me. There's loads on change.org to bring back Bamboozle. And actually, Bamboozle still exists. One way to still play Bamboozle is to do something wrong on the Teletext Holidays website, and you end up on their 404 page where you can play Bamboozle about holidays. I can put these links up on our Facebook feed for people that want to play Bamboozle, for people that want to go down this nostalgia.
So they can go back and have a look. I think we'll do that. We'll do that. And just in case anybody has got nothing better to do than go and have a game of Bamboozle, we'll put the links up.
Do you want to know what the final question ever was on Bamboozle, Mark?
Yeah, I do. I want to see if I can answer it.
The very last question asked on Bamboozle was, which was Charles Hawtrey's last Carry On film? Was it Carry On Cleopatra? Was it Carry On Doctor? Was it Carry On Up the Khyber? Or was it Carry On Abroad?
Carry On Doctor.
That's way too early, mate. It was Carry On Abroad.
You see, I was just going purely on psychology there. I thought that you tried to slip the right answer in between and casually kind of move on. That's what I was working on.
I'm too skilled a quizzer to do something like that, Mark, I'm afraid.
Absolutely. All right, so we're not going with Bamboozle.
Nope.
What else? Was there any others that you were going to do?
I was going to go on and put one about not being able to stand the Carry On films. I don't know if you've watched the Carry On films, and it may be a Northern Irish thing, Mark, but I just don't get why they're considered a British institution. If I had to watch a Carry On film, I think it would put me in a British institution. There's just Kenneth Williams just goes around making strange noises. Sid James sometimes leers at women. There's a specky guy in a big outhouse of a man, and that appears to be it, as far as I can see. That
is pretty much it. Well, also the women being leered at and giggling a lot. There's some of that, but it's British postcard humour being brought to life, and the same joke being hammered for an hour and a half, isn't it?
There's a forum on Digital Spy. I don't know if you've ever used Digital Spy. I can put the link on a Facebook page. It's basically a lot of very frustrated, middle-aged, pedantic men trying to outdo each other with their lowbrow British cinema knowledge. I'll take you through some of the comments, which I can agree with. Personally, I'd rather dig my own eyeballs out with a rusty spoon than endure a Carry On movie ever again. I mean,
okay, it's extreme. I'll give it that. It's an extreme reaction.
Then you get the defenders of Carry On. Yes, they're vulgar, sexist, cheap, shoddily made. I love them.
Oh, yeah.
Why not? They're from their time, of their time, before the cancer of political correctness sucked the fun out of everything. I wonder what way he voted on Brexit.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think that would be a perfectly legitimate campaign to get rid of Carry On films. I don't think we need them anymore. All right, should I tell you what I had a little look at this week? Then I was torn. Yeah, I've had so many that I've been thinking about doing and was toying with. I think it would be nice to encourage weather forecasters to lie one day a week, make it up. Just tell them something different's going to happen. And then originally I had encouraged them to lie on a Thursday, but then I think pretty quickly you'd start to rumble them. So I've gone to one day a week, just so you never quite know when they're being legit or not.
Yeah, you got to randomise it, keep that lottery going, that frisson of excitement.
Yeah, exactly.
What day I'm going to go out with a big coat on and it's going to be blistering hot, or what's the day I'm going to rock out with T-shirt and shorts and figure out that I'm going to need a full wetsuit. Yeah.
You could have hours of fun with convincing people to wear the wrong wardrobe. It would be great. The other thing that I was looking at, it's a bit like your game of change whack, as you're calling it. I thought it would be quite nice to get people supporting something that's positive. So I thought, let's find something that needs a national day. Yesterday was National Best Friend Day. We could have new days in support of whatever it might be. But again, if you actually look on Google, there is just about a national day for everything already. Yeah. It got to the point I was just writing random words into, National Day. There is a National Courgette Day already. There is a National Flip-Flop Day already. There is a National Alligator Day already. There is a National Light Bulb Day already. There is a National Pillow Fight Day already. I just cannot find anything to have a national day for that doesn't already have one.
I wonder who had the idea for National Light Bulb Day. I wonder what happened when they had that idea. Sorry, that was really lame.
It was lame, but it made me laugh. So there you go. Maybe one day at some point I will come up with a genius idea for a national day of something, but I have not yet found what it can be that doesn't already exist. All right, so what did you go for? What's your campaign this week? Have you got a pitch for me, or are you going to tell me what the campaign is?
Yeah, I got a pitch for you. Do you want me to go straight into the pitch?
Yeah, let's just hear it.
All right, okay. Here we go. Strap in. It's a long one. Boris Johnson is no doubt a fascinating character study. He's a man bereft of any real oratory skill beyond one after-dinner anecdote. He's a man denuded of any real power after someone drove to Barnard's Castle. A man who wanted a shiny musical toy, and now that he has it, he doesn't know what to do with it other than shake it around and hope it plays the right tune. A man who's continually sought responsibility for things but lacked the nerve to properly accept that responsibility and follow it through. Children, no one knows how many. London, remember the zip wire, the cable car. Brexit, that's going well. And now the Prime Ministership of Britain. All of these things have a weight of responsibility. A responsibility Boris Johnson has searched out, but responsibility which he has never embraced. He has swerved more often than the Stig. It would be far too obvious to talk about the elephant in the room in regards Boris Johnson's inability to accept responsibility. So instead, let's chuck in a giraffe. It is clear Boris will never accept responsibility unless we foist it upon him. And what better reminder of your need to actually take care of business than that business being able to grow up to 19 feet tall? You cannot avoid looking after something that obvious. If we can simply get him to acknowledge and care about something that huge, perhaps maybe we can get him to look after something much smaller, like his new baby son, or the economic or physical health of this country. Boris needs this. We know he's going to find it hard. I mean, what do you feed a giraffe? What happens if it eats all the roses in the Downing Street garden? What happens when Rishi Sunak complains about being stared at in the number 11 shower? How will he get the giraffe in the back of the Prime Ministerial Jag? What happens when people figure out it probably has more sense than its owner? These are all questions which would surely help Boris learn. He cannot simply walk away from something which needs to eat 34 kilograms a day. For a quick comparison, that's one 11-year-old girl. And from this problem solving, perhaps Boris can square the circle of an independent, globally trading Britain who can also get a trade deal with our saucy European neighbour. If we don't do this now, Boris might think he can continue going even higher and not accepting even more responsibility. Who's to say the next position of power he trashes won't be even higher again? Pope Boris I. We cannot allow such a venal man, such spiritual power. Admittedly, that has been done by the Catholic Church before, but not recently. We need Boris to learn responsibility fast. We need him to look after a giraffe, any giraffe, but preferably a very tall, very hungry giraffe. After Prime Minister's questions, the only gnashing of teeth we hear should be Jerry the giraffe as it merrily munches the last of the Downing Street roses. Otherwise, people in Britain, it could be a very long 4.5 more years.
Very good. Okay. I think I'm with you. I'm not sure if you've just completely lost the plot or not. Am I right in saying that basically the crux of your campaign is to give Boris Johnson a giraffe?
Yeah, let's make him look after a giraffe. I mean, he can bring it along to COVID briefings and so on. I mean, it's very small in there, so it might be a bit weird. Maybe have the briefings out in the garden, the Rose Garden again. It was all right for Dominic Cummings, you know. But he's got to look after a giraffe. You cannot ignore a giraffe. It's there. It's massive. It's huge. It eats loads of stuff all the time. If he can look after a giraffe, he can look after us, Mark.
It makes me think a bit like when in schools they make 15-year-old kids look after one of those fake babies to try and teach them the responsibility of what it's like to have a baby.
That's what we're doing, Mark, just on a larger scale.
Okay, good. And was there a particular reason for a giraffe, or?
I didn't want to go with the obvious, which is an elephant, because it would be the elephant in the room and the elephant would represent his responsibility. And a giraffe is massive. You know, a giraffe is a huge responsibility. And it's not as huge as running, you know, Great Britain as a prime minister, but it is a massive responsibility. And I think it's the only way we're going to train him, you know, because he deals in the visual, he deals in the obvious, he deals in the showy. So let's give him something really like that. And let's make him look after it.
Okay. Have you considered where you're getting a giraffe from?
Probably London Zoo after one of those parties.
You're just going to surreptitiously walk out with a bit of a hangover and a giraffe under your arm.
Probably. Yeah, it'll have been punched or something, you know, and it'll be a bit dazed. I'll grab it. We'll bounce. It'll be grand. I'll follow it all through.
I like it. All right. Well, I think that people are obviously going to get behind that as a campaign. That's it's nailed on. Probably as a win for you, I imagine.
That's the game.
I sort of feel like there's no point following that now. There's no point telling you.
Come on, let's hear. What are you going to do?
I'll be honest. I took last week's loss quite hard, and I've been thinking a lot about what I can do with this. And we were talking about the social media stuff, so I'm going to try and use that to my advantage, right? Although I am a bit worried about your troll who was getting kicked off Twitter. Right, let me just read you this, and I'll see if you're with me.
Okay.
For the greatest benefit to humankind. These words were written in the will of Alfred Nobel, a Swedish chemist, engineer, and inventor who made a load of cash inventing stuff, including, most famously, dynamite. Upon his death in 1895, he decided to leave much of his wealth to be awarded to those who most deserved it, as a prize for making a difference in the world. We've all heard of the Nobel Peace Prize and probably a couple of the others, literature, physics, some of the other stuff. But really, most of us probably don't have a clue what the other categories of the prizes are. And that is because they are now so far out of date. You can't keep giving prizes to people for inventing bridges and writing books. We've already got bridges and books. The people who are really providing the greatest benefit to humankind are not getting the acknowledgement that they deserve. So let's move with the times. We all know that the real benefit to humankind in 2020 all happens online, on the World Wide Web, created by Tim Berners-Lee, himself a winner of the Nobel Prize for Computing. And that the real people that are making a difference are doing so in just one place, Andy: Twitter. Let's pay tribute to Alfred Nobel with the most radical and explosive reform of the prize awards in its 125-year history, by giving recognition to those people who can use their words to capture the hearts of people right across the world, who can highlight the issues that really matter in modern society, and who can accurately fill you in on the pointless details of their meaningless lives, accompanied by a picture of them pouting like a duck. And what's more, they do all this in no more than 280 characters. Surely there is no more noble a campaign to support than creating a Nobel Prize for tweeting. Hashtag, you know it makes sense, hashtag worthy cause, hashtag inane.
Hashtag absolutely. Okay, so a Nobel Prize for Twitter.
Nobel Prize for tweeting specifically. Nobel Prize for tweeting. That's what I think we should be doing. What's the difference
between a Nobel Prize for Twitter and a Nobel Prize for tweeting?
Well, it feels like if it was for Twitter, then you'd be giving it to Twitter and not the people who are using...
Well, for the use of Twitter.
All right.
Not just every year someone rocks up to the head office of Twitter and goes, here you go, it's another Nobel Prize. Well done for being Twitter. That's not what Alfred Nobel wanted.
Exactly. That's not what he would have wanted. But I do think what he would have wanted was to see the prizes rolling with the times for the greatest benefit of humankind. That's what he was looking for. And surely nothing encapsulates Twitter more than for the greatest benefit of humankind.
You have taken one of the greatest prizes, the most vaunted prize in humanity. It's about intelligence, it's about literature, it's about compassion, it's about all these different fields. And you're going to give it to somebody who can condense their ideas into 280 characters. You are responsible for the dumbing down of society, Mark. Hang your head in shame.
It's like an art form. Tweeting is like an art form in itself. You've got that restriction. You've got to be able to encapsulate the way that people feel and get across your message. You've got to be able to make a difference for the greatest benefit of humankind. I'm not talking about giving it to people who tweet about what they have for dinner. I'm not talking about giving it to people who tweet about, the nightclub that they're going to, et cetera, et cetera. I'm talking about the real stuff on there, the people that actually put out poignant, well-constructed, powerful, meaningful tweets.
You're just attention deficit, Mark. That's your problem. That's all you can manage.
No, do you know what it is? I'm convinced that if I put it on Twitter about Twitter, I had a little look. There's a page that's really easy to find with the 50 most prolific, what do they call them? Is it Twitchers? Tweeters? Tweet, whatever. So all I'm going to do is tag them into a tweet and suggest that they might win it if the Nobel Prize for tweeting becomes a thing. All it's going to take is one of them to retweet it, surely.
Who was that girl earlier that was saying, don't at me? You're literally doing the opposite of that. You're literally going to at them.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm going to do.
Oh, no. I've made a terrible mistake here, haven't I? I've thought big and national. You've thought international. If you can get Donald Trump to tweet...
Well, he's on the list, man. He's on the list.
Of course he's on the list. He's the person that uses Twitter the most when he should be running the biggest sort of power in the world.
By its nature, though, as well, it plays into the ego of these people. I mean, imagine Elon Musk thinking he's going to get a Nobel Prize for tweeting.
That's good, mate. That's good. Let's see how it pans out. If you can pull this off, this may be the greatest Inane campaign of all time. And we're only on week 2. Yeah, I just got to figure out a way to get my message out there. I've got to,
I guess it's going to be heavily giraffe based. Good luck joining all the Facebook giraffe groups that are out there.
Yes, excellent. Although they may not want Boris Johnson to look after a giraffe, because let's face it, it's only going to go south if he looks after a giraffe, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, I think you're right.
Well, let's see. Maybe the comedy aspect of mine might kind of make mine catch fire. But if you can tweet those people, if you even one of those 50 people gives you some traction, you're going to spread like wildfire.
Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. Here's the challenge this week. I know we've been talking a lot about social media, but one of the things that they do on Change is they talk about the pictures that you put on your campaign. And one of the things that you can do is use their smart features function, where you select a few different pictures, and the ones that seem to work best are the ones that they will then use on the campaign. So I'll have a look at it and work out what's working for you. And obviously we'll also bung them on the Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram and all of that. So people following us, if they want to, have a little look on @InanePod. That's the place to check out all of the things that we're doing and be able to follow these campaigns for real over the next week as we try and get a few more people to support our campaigns and sign the petitions.
Let's do it, mate. Let's do it. I got Google image search at rate.
All right, well, good luck this week, mate. And I look forward to catching up with you next week and seeing how both of the campaigns have got on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Please don't win.
I hope I do. Right, take care. See you next week.
Save the drama for the llama.
I really thought you were going to go save the drama for the giraffe.